and welcome to another episode of the MoxStars podcast. I am one of your hosts, Evan Kunai, and today I'm with my two great friends, colleagues, everything in between.
Nope, keep going.
One of them is Jordan Garcia. Say hello, Jordan.
What it do?
And Christopher Ritter.
I was literally going to say what it do.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
Let's go. I beat him to it. We gotta have a new intro every time.
Today, we are doing a deck workshop with Chris, who is covering BORBORYGMOS ENRAGED.
That is correct. There are two BORBORYGMOSes.
Oh, there are.
Or BORBORYGMOSi. There's an earlier one from the first time we were on the plane of Ravnica. I forget what he does. He is not as good.
Don't worry about it.
This one is a fringe commander. That one might be even more fringy. So,
Well, the more fringe, the better, as I would
yeah.
say.
Yeah, maybe he costs like 9 mana and does something worse. I don't know.
Just one of those classic textless commanders that cost 9 mana.
Ooh.
That'd be hot.
That would be super hot.
But
So, before we talk about Borby,
before we talk about Borby, we're talking about Cube. Jordan might
Love
be
that
playing a
movie.
lot of Cube, but before we get into Cube, check out all of our social links and stuff like that down below in the
Link tree
description.
down below.
A link tree that nobody looks at.
cleans everything up. You don't have to look at 40 links. You get one link for all the links.
Boom. Everything. Follow us. Get on it.
Click it, subscribe, like,
Yeah.
comment.
Comment, like, subscribe.
Engage
all
with
that
us.
stuff.
Yeah, we're going to have a Patreon at some point. Send us money. Do all
Yeah,
the things.
we're actually
Yeah.
talking with a few
Buy
people.
our merch. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, we're talking with a few people who are actually listening to the show about doing episodes with them. So if you're listening to this and you want to be part of that, reach out to us in the comments on YouTube and we can make that happen. We are always looking to expand our horizons.
Yeah, kind of with the concept of what we were doing with the deck, not deck text, but more of like the deck somethings. What we're calling them?
Workshops.
Thank you, deck workshops. You know, we can have somebody on. They pitch their deck, very different than our play style. We can learn some things. We can talk about it. You know, maybe pitch some ideas. Let us know if that's something you want to see. But anyway,
We're talking about Cube.
Cube.
The reason we're talking about it is because we have been curating a cube out of the cards that we just have laying around.
Been doing a lot of drafting, so we have a ton of chaff.
Yeah, it's just all stuff like commons and uncommons become so much more valuable. We've been looking at the Dragon Shield resealable packs because we want to do like drafts because
Yeah, tell me about that product. You mentioned it, and I was not aware of
It's
it.
pretty rad.
yeah, Jordan actually introduced me to it, and it's
Jordan loves Dragon Shield.
yeah, Jordan. do you
Jordan
wanna
likes
take it
spending
away?
money on things, so if I could spend money on it, I'd probably like it.
That is a product to spend money on for sure.
Yeah. So essentially, like, I think they might not like this facsimile, but essentially to me, it looks like a really, really skinny boulder, like one of those like plastic
Okay.
thingies, and it just pretty much are resealable packs. It just has like a little flip top lid. It's like a hard plastic, and then you just like sort out your rares, mythics.
What did one of those cost?
I think it'd probably be like $30-$40 for the whole cube.
How many go
That's
into a
not bad
cube?
at all.
How
Well,
many pieces?
we would need like how many packs did we say we needed?
Something like 24.
Yeah, something like that. I could be completely.
I mean, we could. I know you like spending money. You could spend $0. We probably between us have enough of those card cases that you get when you pick up singles at Card Kingdom.
Oh man, yeah, I guess I guess that is a good point. Like the Card Kingdom.
I hate that
like,
idea.
the
I
way
mean,
they
but we could
pack
spend
it.
$100
Yeah.
if you insist.
Well, the thing is that these containers hold the card in the sleeve as well. Like the Card Kingdom ones
Okay.
won't hold
All
the
right.
sleeve.
No, we do need to spend this money.
'Cause we-
No, you got me.
Yeah,
It's been
we wanna-
justified.
We want to be able to protect the cards, and I guess that's one like thing that you don't really. Well, we didn't even think about until Jordan had pitched this product. Is that like you're sleeving the whole cube in a single color?
Okay.
And then,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you separate out your mythics, your rares, and everything like that, and then you just shuffle them randomly into these packs. You kind of sort of like curate the balance of the cube, like the play style, the mechanics, and stuff like that. And what has actually been very inspiring for us is playing a lot of cube on Arena in the last 2 days.
Ooh.
Yeah, you should definitely
A
try
decent format on Arena.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Very cool.
Does Wizards make these cubes, or are these player generated cubes?
This is a wizard cube.
it out. Yep.
Okay.
But like they do, like
Is that how they screw us? They're just terrible cubes.
Here's the part that you're gonna hate about it is because right on the front of it they're like, well, this is a cube containing all of the best cards.
You
from
don't get
Arena.
the cards in your collection.
No, that is a shitty part.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. There we go.
it's
We
super-
found it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's super cheap to get into it though.
Okay.
Like, and your prizes are actually pretty justified. If you win 5 games, you get the coins back to just sign up again, and you just get to keep playing this awesome format that they've seemed to have curated.
Now, is it win 5 games like in draft where you actually have to be super good to get that, or is it?
I went.
No.
This is a little bit of a flex, but your boy went 7-1 last night.
It was a big dub.
What's the sample size?
That's a
Can
out
we
of
replicate that?
out of 4 drafts.
Okay.
And the thing was, my deck had Elish Norn, OG Elish Norn. It had Jin-Gitaxias from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and
Okay.
it had Ulamog's Ceaseless Hunger.
Got it.
And I was playing Palladium Mirror to like ramp into those things, but the real all-star was Essica, God of the Tree, because like I had a ton of legendary creatures, and so they all tap. I had Lyra Dawnbringer in the freaking deck. This cube is nuts.
It is a lot of power.
And these are like set, because I have not experienced this at all on Arena. These are set cubes. Like I can be like, oh, I'm getting into this cube, or I'm getting into this level
It's
cube.
all one cube.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It's only one cube.
You can look at the
Okay.
card list ahead of time and everything too.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all preset and everything like that. It's really cool. Is
Does the card pool change or?
not unless
Not
they're changing
sure,
the
not
cube.
sure.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not part of like regular Arena updates where they're changing what's in the cube.
No, they'll probably just
Okay.
do like a different cube or something.
Got it. Got it.
But what's really cool is they actually this weekend tied it with something they've been doing recently, which is those arena opens. Have you seen those?
That's sort of what they got rid of Pro Tour and shifted towards.
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they're doing those like arena opens. It's like 5,000 gems to sign up, which is kind of steep. But if you're good at doing it, like go for it. Like it's good competition. You get it.
It's your only option.
It's your
officially.
only option.
Yeah.
You get into. If you do well, you can get to the invite to week 2, and then that's when the prizes actually start getting pretty serious. You get your gems back on 1 win because it's single elimination.
Yeah.
2 wins was like $500. 3 wins was 1,000. 4 wins was 2,000.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, it was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. Like there's some serious comp there. So, and the fact that they're doing it now with the cube, I think is really cool.
Oh, sidebar. How are you doing climbing the ladder?
Great question. I almost went fucking insane last night.
Okay. Yeah. Been there. Yup.
I
There was
said
one point where Jordan, I was just sitting on the couch like watching something, and I heard this like, I heard him blow air out his nose in a way that I've heard him like laugh before, and I turned around and I was like, "Still playing arena, huh?" Like he
Yeah.
was. That's his like.
You were
pissed
just
off.
witnessing a heavy tilt.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, got it.
heavy
Got
tilt,
it.
bro. Heavy tilt. I was 3 away from Mythic. Then I went
Yep.
back down to Diamond 2. Now I'm back at Diamond 1.
Yes.
I'll probably kill myself at Silver 3. It is what it is. But I did get to Diamond 1, and I'll shout out that is the furthest I've ever gotten, and I feel pretty good about that.
I mean,
Especially 'cause
it's gonna feel good when you hit Mythic.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's my goal to make it happen, and I have 9 days off while we're still in this ranked session, so I'm gonna try to get there.
You're playing mono blue, and you have all these options available to you. It's crazy how flexible your deck is and how well it suits the meta. Like you've had a couple of mirror matches too, where it's just kind of like
Yeah, those are tough.
running into that.
But yeah, I'm just doing like mono blue tempo hottie Jin bullshit.
Are they? Is Arena doing the thing where the algorithm puts you up against the mirror match constantly as you get to the higher echelons?
Maybe it is, but like
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it much, but oh my god, I had 3 within an hour yesterday when I was on Diamond 1. So maybe that's a thing because it was.
Yeah, that was a problem
was
for me
really
back in
annoying.
the day. Playing mono black Ugin, just like I would get that or the Orion matchup, just game after game after game, and it was the mental strain of long games because I was forcing a long game, they were forcing a long game, and just like
Yep.
that Orion deck will take every second available to it.
Seriously, yeah, like
Not even intentionally roping, just the nature of it. It's
just resolving all the
dawdles.
triggers, all the options you have
Yeah,
available
yeah.
to you. Yeah, like sometimes I hop on Arena and I think it's just like a quick play game, in and out in 5-10 minutes. And then I look at the clock, is like, that game took me 35 minutes.
Yeah,
Or
instead
like,
of maybe like formats, they should segment it into vibes a little bit. Like get the vibes into the algorithm. Like who are
Yeah.
the weekend warriors? Who are the people just logging on to get their coins? And who are the people just want to play some quick games and have fun?
Right.
Yeah,
You
the
know?
thing is even if you sign in and you go and you're just like, I don't even want to play ranked today. I'm just gonna play historic, right? You just get into those games, and that's where the most brutal games happen because that's where people are testing out their stacks decks.
Yup.
It's the most annoying thing in the world. I will say the one thing you are gonna hate about this cube that they've curated, is that they have splashed so many alchemy cards into it. I got
Buddy, I am
out.
not logging on.
And I'm out.
Right now.
Yeah.
I'm out. You
I
had
got-
me, and then I'm out.
I literally got comboed out by the Oracle of the Nine, a Ral Zarek, and a ton of Moxes or whatever until he hit a time walk, and then he just kept and a displacer kitten, and then just bounced the Oracle up and down, filled his deck with time walks, and then took infinite turns and killed me with Ral Zarek triggers.
Yeah, if you don't know the Oracle card, it's a 2 and a blue, and it just ETBs. You just conjure the power 9 into your library.
I will say that like when I've drafted them, either just because it's the only card in my color in the pack, there is one card that's nuts. It's a 1 green instant that says conjure a plummet, conjure a naturalize, or draw a card for 1 green instant. It's just
There's a lot of really broken cards.
Yeah.
unbelievable. I've never seen a cantrip like that in green.
Yeah, it's a wild power level. I am so glad that I don't think there's a way mechanically to bring it into real life.
Yes.
Right.
keep it that way.
And yeah, let's keep it on the internet.
Yeah.
And then let's burn it and not keep it on the internet. either.
Yes.
Yes.
Like I talked about them like trying to like balance these cards out. They haven't done shit to balance them. And if they ever printed these cards, they would just have to face the consequences of them being permanent,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Here-
that's
yeah.
absolutely insane.
Love it. Bullshit format for jerks.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
It is fun. I will say the cube is
Okay.
fun.
Cube is fun.
It's
and
balanced because that card doesn't take over unless you're able to combo with it.
The thing
Okay.
is, like, these packs have gas, bro. Like, the packs have like 4 mythics and like some rares and shit. So like, there's no end of good options.
If you just want to hit gas and you don't care about anything else related to the game,
like
this
Worm
is-
Coil Engine
do it.
doesn't
build a
take
ramp
over.
deck
okay.
and fucking get 8 top end pieces. Just do whatever you
Just
want.
shift into Timmy mode and just go for
You
it.
totally can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when I went at 7-1. It was like just went straight Timmy, and that's how I won.
Also, I think there's a lot of great monocolor support in the set because there's tons of like multiple pips. So that is kind of the hard part balancing if you're going like, I've went like 3 colors and I've struggled a lot for the multiple pips. But like if you go just like mono green is super good. Mono white's really good in the set.
I mean, on a semi-related tip, today I opened my first pack ever of Jumpstart. I opened a pack of Jumpstart Brothers War, and I loved opening up the pack and getting all black cards.
That is pretty nice.
I mean, it feels good. Like, I bet it feels good turning off your brain for a second in that way and be like, I don't have to strategize picking the right colors to
Right.
find the right balance here. Just like, I'm ready to go. This is some decent synergy, and I can make some choices along the way. But
Yeah.
like, I'm good to go.
We should
Yeah.
definitely get some packs and crack that just casually.
I mean, I got some for the draft tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a couple in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a little camera going, and maybe we'll get a little jump start of the boys.
Well,
Stay tuned.
Yeah, they used to sell those like theme packs, like you used to be able to like
Yeah,
go to the
Ultramarine,
store
they started
and
messing
like,
with that.
buy like just exclusively green packs from a certain set.
I feel like they started that in Eldraine and then stopped doing that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think they stopped it after Crimson Vow, but don't quote me on that. I'm not exactly sure.
Who knows, like, with the Wizards product schedule? Like, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, hard to keep track of these days.
And there are 40 different options, and every option is different every set. But that's not why we're here. We're talking about Cube. So I think the Cube on Arena is awesome. Evan and I have been, all of us are just like exploring new formats and trying everything. We're just like ravenously consuming Magic right now, essentially.
We're trying to create content.
Content creators. But I think Cube is awesome. Like, we've been doing a ton of limited anyway, so this has just kind of seemed like a natural progression. And I'm excited to see how we build and fine tune our own Cube. And we got a pretty decent play group now. So
What's the vibe of the cube? May I ask?
that is a great question. I don't know if
we've
we've
like spoilers.
Well, I was
Don't-
rolling through my trade binder, and I was just realizing that I just put a bunch of like strange decks together at some point, and I have a ton of mutate cards.
Okay.
I love the
That's
artwork on
on
the
brand.
borderless foils.
Yeah.
So I took those out. Those are in the cube. I got a cart full of shit on Card Kingdom with just mutate, and then let's see. I also
So I don't know what the cards are going to be, but they're definitely all going to be borderless foils, alternate
Yes,
art.
yes,
We
they
were
are.
Yeah, it's going to be blinged out.
yeah,
Well,
so
I've got
okay.
a completely borderless foil werewolf deck too, and so like imagine
How much did that
flipping-
cost you? $87 or?
No, so cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: if you flip a werewolf, you can mutate on top of it before it turns back into a human.
Oh my god!
Got 'em.
Crazy.
Great cube mechanics.
yeah, so we're kind of figuring out how we got to look at our card pool and figure out all the stuff we want to buy. But so we're figuring out the game plan, the direction, whether it's like, we assign a mechanic to a certain set of colors, and that's kind of each, color pairing has a mechanic we build around. If it's tribal, uncertain.
Ooh, what if we had a couple like tribal cubes?
Yeah, it'd be really sweet.
The werewolf cube, the merfolk cube, the goblin cube.
Yeah, the one thing I'm wondering to our viewers and our listeners out there, if you mutate on top of a werewolf that is nightbound and then it turns daybound, does it become human again? And can you mutate on top of it?
I don't think it only checks human on the stack when you're mutating, or before you cast it.
Yeah.
But also,
like you've mutated on top of it. It has all types, right?
No, it only has the top type.
All the top types.
So yeah, as long as you put it below, you're gonna be chilling.
Is this cube gonna come with a specific set of the magic rules, just like a PDF document, 20 pages of applicable night and day bound?
It's gonna
tons of house rules that we just change and make up on the fly. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I love a document that,
and it's all gonna be foil.
You know, the Celestis is gonna break the game.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get pumped up. We're doing a deck workshop today. Chris, what are we talking about?
BORBORYGMOS Enraged.
Do you want to take us away? Give us like the idea. How did you come down with it? What did you want from this deck when you started going?
Also, what does BORBORYGMOS Enraged do?
Yeah. So 2 red, 2 green, 4 colorless, total 8 CMC. That's a lot of CMC.
A lot of
for
CMC.
sure.
Yeah.
But he's got good stats. He's a 7/6. He's got trample. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you reveal the top 3 cards of your library, put any number of land cards into your hand, and the remaining into your graveyard.
Nice.
Yes, Evan's giving me the thumbs up. I remembered what that card does.
You've played this card before.
And then the most important ability that I misunderstood, actually, but it wasn't actually relevant in winning the game, is that you can discard a land card from your hand to deal 3 damage to any target. And so the name of the game is to land this fatty on the board with protection and just go off. Have a bunch of lands in your hand, throw them at your opponent's faces or board state as required, and use that to chain into more lands in your hand, more rocks it faces, more smashing, more gruel nonsense where I don't have to use my brain. I just have to land my commander
I kinda like
and
that.
go off.
I feel like this is a Ren and tribal deck.
There's only 2 because there only has 2 been printed.
And
Full tribe is present.
yeah, the full tribe is present. That is true. Speaking of tribes, connecting the pre-topic to the main topic. I like it. Actually, you asked about the impetus for this deck, and it comes from opening a box of Gatecrash or whatever set BORBORYGMOS is from on release and pulling like 3 or 4 of these guys, not having a home for them in any format I was playing at the time, but thinking it was a really cool card, just like a giant Cyclops that chucks lands to deal damage. It's fun. It's a fun idea.
It's a fun deck.
Well, that was like the best thing rolling through when we started playing again. We rolled through your trade binder, and we were shocked by how many shocks you had, how many shock lands, and we thought how valuable
shocking.
they were. But your collection stretches back further before I even started playing, before Jordan started playing too. So yeah, it makes sense how you just connected with this card from a set that you appreciated way back in the day.
Yeah, I really like that set. That was one of my favorite standard blocks to play. I didn't play Gruul colors at the time. I played
because you like good magic cards.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Domri was in that set, and
Domri's great.
I definitely saw played against Domri in some matches, and he was really good. But I was just on mono black pack rat at the time. And then the other impetus, speaking of Ren and 6, is that I pulled a Ren and 6 out of a pack of Modern Masters, and I was like, ooh, this is a great card. I've never owned it. Its expense before being reprinted was a reason that I never played Jund in Modern. He was really necessary for a viable Jund build.
4 of those?
I didn't have 4 of them. Didn't have 4 of a bunch of other very expensive, at that time, not reprinted cards. And so having those 2 cards and being like, hey, how do I play these 2 together? They obviously synergize. There's some land abilities definitely connected to Ren and 6. And then the first iteration, I wanted to build it as something casual. And the first iteration was definitely casual, and I played some games with it, and I had fun with it. Didn't win any of those games. And I had the realization it just kind of needs a little bit of gas. You have to land Borby quicker. You need more protection. You need more interaction to protect yourself and get to the point where you can land this guy and go off. And so I made those upgrades, just like more wheels, more card draw, more interaction. I always build with interaction, packing more interaction, and trying to get more focused with it. And I brought it back to the table. And in a long-ass game that went
super long,
2.5 hours, and none of us were playing stacks, it was just like very evenly matched, tons of interaction.
Yeah.
Tons of interaction.
Yeah, our pod is
was one
incredibly interactive, especially this last week. So
hey, if you guys haven't heard our episode on playing more interaction, you should play more interaction, and you should go listen to that episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's, people, not to get too sidelined, but people say one of the big differences between CDH and regular EDH is the amount of interaction at the table. And I don't, that line is kind of blurry in our pod, because regardless of whether we're playing high power or low power, we all pack interaction. We're a very interaction heavy pod. Like, we believe in playing the game, I think, together, collaboratively, almost,
Not just all heads down.
Yeah, everyone's there to win, but like, you can't win if everyone else is just unchecked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say that like competitive Magic is not necessarily like the stack of cards you have, because it's more like the mentality that you bring to the table. And so if you're sitting down with a pre-con, and as long as you make the plays at the right time and you're interacting at the right moments, you're going to give yourself the best shot to win the game. And so that's what you did this last week with BORBORYGMOS, was you sat back, like, and when you got BORBORYGMOS off the first time, and then I had to go out of my way because I needed to protect my board state, I psych rifted you back, and you had already sacrificed or bounced a bunch of lands and sacrificed.
I had Storm Cauldron on the board, which like initiated the whole making me a target. Every time I play Storm Cauldron, I become a target. Which, if people don't know what this card is, you can play an additional land on each of your turns, but when you tap a land for mana, it returns to your hand.
Yeah, and that applies to everybody.
And that applies to everyone. And once that hits, my deck can ramp heavy, and it's a good thing for me to return lands to my hand as long as I have the 8 mana to get BORBORYGMOS on the field. Putting 8 lands potentially back in my hand to cast this guy with a Storm Cauldron on the board fucking rips.
Yeah.
It feels real good.
It's pretty sick.
And so other players see that, and that is ramp for me. It's good for me, and it is disruption for everyone else at the table. Everyone, in EDH, in CDH, like however you're playing this 100 card format, you want a lot of mana, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to be able to find loops and ways to generate it.
Mana and cards usually wins you the game in most formats.
And so with this deck, how many lands are you running, since they are incredibly crucial to the formula?
It's almost 50%. It's at, I think, 47 lands, not including modal dual face lands, which are not relevant to BORBORYGMOS' ability, which is one thing that I misunderstood initially.
Yeah. I think when that set came out, it was very confusing. There were a lot of abilities that allowed you to like return lands from your graveyard to your hand, or from or from other places, or like search your library for a land. And initially with those dual face, it was very confusing because we didn't know what classification, what you could search for.
And depending on how cards are worded too in Magic, it can get very complicated, where does this card read it does it read both sides in this context or not?
Right.
And it's hard to know, and that goes against the ethos of this deck, which is not knowing things and not thinking. So I took most of those modal dual face cards out unless they were inherently good, such as like, Spikefield Hazard or Shatter Skull Smashing.
Yeah, like I learned in the cube just playing the last couple days, is that like Sarah Paragon, even though the wording on it says you may play lands and cast and play whatever, that's not the part, but it says play lands from your graveyard, and I had a modal dual face in the grave, and it allowed me to play it as a land for my graveyard, and I was just like, what? But like that's what makes it sort of confusing.
Yeah, exactly. That is fine print. You know, exactly. Like,
So, with all the lands, how are you getting, like, I know that, like, ramping is important. Like, you have you're actually not running too many artifacts to, like, ramp.
No, because here's the thing. I want ramp in the form of putting additional lands on the battlefield.
Right.
Like, that is the important form of ramp. One, to thin out that high density of lands in the deck, and increase, give me better card draws down the line. But also at the same time, any fast mana I put in that deck is one less land in the deck, and ultimately I need those lands to cause damage.
Yeah, have you thought about playing Collective Voyage? It's a little pet card of mine, but I'm not sure if you've seen it.
I'm not familiar.
So it's 1 green mana, and then it has that parlay where it's like beginning with you, essentially you pay an amount of mana, and then it goes around the table, and then every player decides how much mana they want to feed into this thing, and then each player searches their library for basic lands. Sorry, excuse me. Each player searches their library for basic lands equal to the amount of mana paid and put them onto the battlefield tapped.
I mean, that would definitely go off for me, but I think everyone in our pod would be too smart to feed into my bullshit.
Every time I've seen it go off, nobody has added mana to it.
Yeah.
It's always
It seems
your
like
advantage.
a smuggler's share, almost.
Well,
you know?
Roll
Not-
smuggler shit.
Not always the case. It's always in your advantage, even if you're the only one feeding into it.
Okay, that's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you are the one getting your land.
Yeah, I had previously been playing Animist Awakening, but I already took that out. I think that would be an upgrade over that card, but
I respectfully disagree because if you're the only one paying mana and you're giving everybody lands,
They do
you
get
are
to untap
not
with it first.
you are
Okay.
not at the advantage.
Yeah, well, I guess when I think about it, when you look at more competitive pods like we are, hardly any of us play basics. Like,
I mean, except for me. Like, I play...
yeah.
Like, this is... I like monocolored decks. Like, my Catilda deck plays a lot of planes. I think I play 17 or 19 planes in there.
Yeah.
This deck plays 20 basics. And, you know, with 47 lands and only being 2 colors, I could play more, get more value town out of utility lands and things like that. Go more into, like, tap dual lands in the red-green colors.
Yeah, you got to get a tainted packed mana base just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
In case you ever steal one.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But, like, you know, I also play 2 Blood Moon effects. I play Blood Moon and Mages of the Moon. So it's nice to have those basics. And maybe I play against a blue player that drops it back to basics. Yeah. And so being able to still go off, I think it's good to have that high density basics in this deck.
Right. The stacks are, like, at least in those colors, are not... There just aren't that many options that don't limit what you do. And Blood Moon is just... And Magus of the Moon are just that perfect blend of stacks and while not hindering what you're trying to do with your deck. So, yeah, those are great inclusions.
Yeah, I think I have maximum 2 pips of any color. So as long as I have 2 of each basic, I'm set. Or I mean, I want mountains, so I need 2 basic forests, and then I'm Gucci.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're pitching cards,
I believe we are. That is the segment right here, I think.
Pet card I want to pitch to you. Sorry, it was just
Bag of Holding.
Bag of Holding. Yes.
Is that actually it?
No.
Okay,
It'd be
because you
6
pitched that to me initially when I sent you the first version of the deck.
Well, I'll pitch that again.
Okay.
It's a great idea, and I sound smart. Real quick, just because it was on my phone when I brought it up, when we were talking about it earlier. Those cube shells are way cheaper than I thought.
How much are they?
They're $12 for 8.
Ooh, that is
Whoa.
1 each cube.
What's that?
That is 1 each cube. 8 of them.
We would need 3 of them.
Ooh.
24 packs is what we're going for.
Ooh.
Yeah, so way cheaper. Than
Okay, can you find a more expensive option?
I'm gonna look around. Maybe
yeah,
like gold,
definitely,
better,
for
higher
sure.
quality carbon
Yeah.
fiber. I'll look into it. Okay, but anyway, the card I was going to recommend to you is from M21, and it's a little pet card of mine that I've never fit into any deck. It is called Chandra's Incinerator. Are you familiar?
I want to say 1 red, 5 or 6 colorless. It deals 6 damage on ETB or something else plus an additional line of text.
You're correct about the additional line of text. Everything else is wrong.
Fuck you. I will burn this house to the ground.
Also, you're right on the mana. It is 5 and a red for an elemental 6/6.
Okay.
It costs X less to cast, where X is the amount of non-combat damage dealt to your opponents this turn.
I said something damage related. I want credit.
You said something. All right, 100% right.
He said the word damage.
Yep,
It is
yep.
trample just for shits and gigs.
Okay.
But the best line of text is that last one you were right about. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, Chandra's Incinerator deals that much damage to target creature or planeswalker that player controls.
Ooh.
So now you don't need to split, like, do I kill the creature or do I deal damage to the face? You just always do damage to the face, and then you kill their creature anyway.
I mean, I think that's definitely worth considering picking. That's probably, how much does that cost? Like $2-3?
The foil is $1.99.
It
Okay.
is cheap.
You know what? I'm going to pick one of those up, keep it around, see how I feel about it, maybe throw it in.
It's got fun old school magic art too. Like, it's very old vibe.
Okay, I like that. I like
Yeah.
how it looks.
I
It
don't know.
kind of reminds me, did you play Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain?
No.
Ooh, there's a Burning Man character in that guy who, there's some insane Kojima backstory to it, but
Word.
a guy on fire that looks like that dude.
Yeah, no, it's hot as hell, and I think it'd be really cool in that deck. Like, yeah, I mean, and then also just chuck 2 lands, and this costs 1 red mana,
Yup.
which is pretty good.
I do be
pretty
chucking
hot.
them lands.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a dope card.
Last
Sure,
card
gonna-
for you to consider: Jeweled Lotus. I'm just throwing it out there.
Ooh, here's the thing. So it's great. Definitely helps me cast an 8 CMC commander a little earlier, but I think I'd rather just have a land. I'd rather just have a good land in that slot and
And this is a
ramp
more
into
casual
it.
deck too. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like you're trying to turbo it out. I totally get it. It was more of a joke.
I see you're trying to meld a little Titania.
I love that.
Yup,
That is a
yup.
must include in
Yeah.
a lands deck.
I mean,
Go.
it's free. Both cards are decent in that deck. I don't know if I'm going to really use Titania's or Argoth's ability to create a token creature, but
It'll
it might
come
be
out.
relevant.
It'll come
I mean,
out.
I have 6 creatures in the deck, 7 if you include my commander, so it's not like I have a ton of creatures. It'll be relevant in some context. I mean, I have Field of the Dead in there. That's going to throw me extra creatures as well, so might as well get value out of that one. And then Titania herself, she has some relevant abilities, gaining life when lands hit the bin. And then if
Wow, yeah, I didn't even think
Yeah,
about
it's really
that.
great.
Yeah.
I didn't even think.
I
about
read it
that.
for I think the full line of
Wow.
text. I think I read it for the first time yesterday.
yeah, let me actually
Wow.
pull up that card.
Because that hasn't come up once in drafting it.
The thing is, if it melds, it's just game. It feels like it's game when
Yeah,
the thing
that
comes together.
it has been must remove every time it's landed without it even going off. Our pod has treated it as a must remove threat.
Kill.
yeah.
Yep.
So kill on sight.
Whenever one or more lands are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 2 life.
Yep. So I'm dealing 3 damage to your face and gaining 2 life off of it every single time.
I
and
love
then
that.
it is so easy to pull off this meld because I have a bunch of effects where I can just like tutor up a land by sacking a land, those Harrow type things.
Your life from the loam there.
Yeah, and life from the loam for sure. And all it requires is 4 more land cards in your graveyard and both Titania and Argoth on the battlefield, and that is just so achievable.
Yeah, with that
Yeah.
deck, that's going to be so easy.
Yeah, I mean, I built a bunch of lines into this deck because, like, obviously there's going to be times where it's just not possible to land an 8 CMC commander with protection and go off with it. I built a lot of lines into this deck where I can do things along the way that are just already doing what I'm doing. Maybe score a win that way.
Yeah.
So there's like Valakut in there. There's Field of the Dead.
I
There-
love
there-
Valakut in the deck. That's
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. Especially with those 2 Blood Moon effects.
Question: Are you playing Vesuva?
I am not, although I should. Right.
I think it's
Why
great.
not?
I would play Vesuva and I would play Thespian Stage.
I
Like,
thought about the Dark Depths combo in there, but
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you totally could, but like just 2 Vesuvas is better than 1 Vesuva.
yeah, for sure.
Pretty much.
For sure. Yeah.
I actually love that you're playing Paradise Lost, like the 3 and 2 green instant that roll.
Pair O dice lost.
Pair O dice lost.
Let's go.
Yes. Roll 2 6-sided dice. Return any number of cards with total mana value X or less from your graveyard to your hand, where X is the total of those results. And then exile pair O dice lost.
Yeah, I mean that card. If I roll Snake Eyes 2 1s, I still get every single land in my graveyard out of it.
Exactly.
So
Wow.
that's great, and that was that card
Wow.
replaced. I think you initially, when it was spoiled, suggested it to me, Evan.
Yeah, you
That's
were saying you were talking about Borborygmos for a second, and I was just like, dude, this card is gonna help you pop off.
For real, and it replaces, I think, Praetor's Council, which comes in at 8 CMC.
Yeah, this is just, and this is an instant. And
Yeah.
it's crazy good.
Oh yeah, Praetor's Council is also a sorcery. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess there's one more card that I like. I don't see in your list that I was playing in a Jadzi build that I was doing. I don't know if you've ever heard of Rites of Spring.
Sounds familiar.
Very old card from Odyssey.
Ooh.
It's 1 and a green sorcery. Discard any number of cards from your hand, search your library for that many basic lands, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library.
That sounds excellent for this deck. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if like you'd seen it or heard of it or considered it.
No, I have never heard of it, and I definitely have a couple effects in there. I don't think I have Winds of Change in that list, but I have like Valakut Awakening. Definitely some things where I'm just like taking cards from my hand and putting those back in the deck because maybe I get all the junk pieces and I don't need those at the time.
Yeah,
know?
you have a lot of really great like grave recycling abilities here in this deck.
Yeah, Jordan, when I played Creeping Renaissance last week, you were like, what is that card? How did that just happen where I picked up like 15 lands out of nowhere?
Yeah, had to reread
Yeah.
it for sure.
And then we all groaned as we saw our inevitable doom when your hand was
pretty
just
goddamn
like
good.
loaded with lands. And that was like the point where I thought I was dead. I thought you had enough lands in your hand, because we talked about this, where it was like you could have just pitched all the lands and killed me before I psych rifted, because I think that's where
Yeah,
we were.
I wouldn't. But I just wouldn't have had enough gas to finish everyone else off.
Right.
And I had a misunderstanding of how commander damage works. I didn't realize it was only combat damage.
Oh,
like I thought if I had 7 lands, I could just do it to your face, and that does it.
Zaps him.
That would be dreamy.
That would be so good. It would be a much better deck. But at least there's lots of ways to get those lands back in my hand and get that gas. Like essentially, it doesn't play Wheel of Fortune, but it plays a couple other much worse wheels that in this context are actually better because they break symmetry for me.
Imposing Grandeur is awesome.
Imposing Grandeur.
I'd never seen it.
4
before you played it.
colorless, 1 red. Each player discards their hand and draws cards equal to the CMC of a commander they own in the command zone or on the battlefield. So for me, that is
was
8.
sick.
8.
And for everyone else, that's going to be
And
like
not
3 or
having to
4.
own it too.
You know?
Yeah.
Yep. And then the other one is Change of Fortune, which is each player discards their hand and then draws cards equal to the number of cards they've discarded this turn, which for me is, let's
That's
say I just...
literally just you, though. It's
Yeah.
one-sided.
Yeah. Oh, and it's also it's already breaking symmetry. But let's say I've discarded a bunch of it's lands I've discarded in any context that turn.
Yes.
So I just pitch 10 lands, deal 30 damage. All right, I'm getting at least 10 cards back out of my library,
In half your
and I'm
deck is
refilling.
lands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we also have Keen
good.
Sense and Snake Umbra, where if Borborygmos is dealing damage, every time he deals damage, you draw a card. So if I have one of those on Borborygmos with protection, essentially, I can just, if I have both of them, I can go infinite probably, because unless it's a Clark's Thumb situation where the ratio just isn't in my favor that day. Yeah, there's lots of lines to just give it gas. Like I keep saying, like you want to land Borby with protection and just give them gas, and
Yeah.
there are lots of ways to do that.
When you get that like Keen Sense like trigger to like go off where you're like drawing cards every time you pitch, it's
So
almost
good.
like Anya Falconwrath, where you're like tapping to draw and discard, and until you run out of cards with Madness in your hand, you can just keep going. So until you run out of lands, then but you could pick up one of these wheels. Like that is like the potential for that. Like Change of Fortune, when it was spoiled, I think it was one of the more expensive cards off of like just like hype.
We saw
alone.
a wheel. We saw a new wheel, and we lost our shit. I remember texting you about this card because I thought it had great potential. It does have great potential. It's just it fell by the wayside because of how circumstantial it is, and you really have to build into it.
Yeah, and it is 1 more mana and
It is 1 more.
sorcery it is one-sided, so that is the hope, is that you are breaking parity so hard here. But it just feels like you're very vulnerable in the moment. I'm glad it doesn't say as an additional cost to cast, discard your hand.
Yeah.
But I think that there's particular decks that can use this to break like
Anya.
parity here. Like Anya is
Anya's
crazy
great.
with this.
Borborygmos. Great.
Yeah, Borborygmos. There we go.
Borborygmos.
There's another card that does the same thing, that breaks symmetry in another way that is just explosive if I can cast it off at 7 CMC, which is Nullspine Dragon, which is a 7/5 flying. When Nullspine Dragon comes into play, you may discard your hand and draw cards equal to the damage dealt to target opponent this turn. So I just
Wow.
did 30 to your face. Let's draw 30 cards, and I better at that point fucking have the gas to take everyone else off the board,
Because those are all lands, and
Yeah.
Jeez, that is awesome. This is a really fun deck to look through, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Super
you guys
cool.
are going to have to play it in successive weeks. I only brought my draft kit this week, but maybe next week we'll have some time to hand it off to you
Do
guys.
a little pass around. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is great. Honestly, I didn't realize that Snake Umbra was just a second Keen Sense. Like, I didn't know there was 2
good.
Curiosities in
Yup.
green. I thought there was just the one.
Yep, and it's protection. It's just
Totem
that
Armor.
The
much
Totem
better.
Armor
Yep.
edition is awesome. I think Abundance, obviously a great card. It's a no-brainer. You just pick the land when you need the land. Seismic Assault is super cool in this because it's just a backup commander for 3 mana.
3 red. The value is a little less, but I mean,
deals 2 damage to target creature or player.
I can drop it sooner, and definitely
in the
it's done work. I think there was one game the first week where I was playing Borborygmos, and I dropped that, and I just kept the board clear for myself for a while. Yeah,
which is what you want. You're trying to take a late game, right? So turn 3, turn 4 is really when you start seeing commanders come out, right? And like 2 lands will pretty much take care of most of them. Even with this.
Yeah, I forget who kept recurring their commander. It might have been you.
Probably me.
But every time she came out, like it might have been, were you playing like
I was playing
Yeah, I was playing
Baracos.
every time Baracos came out, I was like, all right, I have 2 lands. See
4
ya.
damage. Yeah, it's like done. Easy. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun actually just looking at the mana base itself. Like
I just got to that point, and I'm like shocked.
to me, it's the best part of the deck. It's the most fun part of the deck is you're playing a lands deck, right? So you don't want to just have split down the middle basics. That'd be boring as hell.
I mean, should we? Oh, we're almost at time. Yeah, let's wrap up by talking about the land.
Yeah.
I mean, I can
it.
actually go down one by one and
Do
see
it.
why these are good. So we got Argo's Sanctum of Nature, which I've already covered. Incidental creature creation in a deck that only has 7 creatures, plus it melts with Titania. Blast Zone, which can just clear the board.
Always
I can tutor for it. It's a board wipe that I can tutor for.
Yep.
Boseiju, who endures, needs no explanation. Cavern of Souls, name Cyclops, or name any other piece that I need to go off in that. Name dragons and make sure that Nullspine Dragon lands. Command Tower, untapped mana in both colors. Crag Crown Pathway, untapped mana in both colors.
Shout out to those MDFC lands. These are my favorite of the MDFCs.
That made the cut because it's just good, regardless.
And the borderless foil is gorgeous.
Yep. And it's a land on both sides, actually.
Yeah.
Dormant Volcano. When it enters the battlefield, return a mountain you control to your hand or bury it. It adds 1 red, 1 colorless. Comes into play tapped, but I do like bouncing the land to my hand. It's great value in this deck. It's unconditional ramp.
I liked this.
Yeah,
This was a very cheeky addition. I thought it was very cool.
And I'm playing the green version of that too, Jungle Basin.
Yeah, I play Ride's Grove to bounce like Boseju's back to my hand.
Yeah, I saw you playing that first before I added these to the deck, and that kind of planted the seed.
I didn't think you were going to be able to find that effect because as far as I knew, it was only the layer cycle, which is 3 colors.
No, there's 2 color ones. I have Gruul Turf in there too that does it.
The dual.
You're right. Yeah, no, for sure. There's some really good options. You have 3 options for returning a land to your hand, which I think is great.
Actually, 4. I think I have a worse version of Ancient Tomb that contextually.
Yes, you do.
Whatever that's called.
Guildless Commons.
Guildless Commons, yes.
It is a worse Ancient Tomb.
But it returns the land to your hand, which I want to do.
Potentially a better Ancient Tomb? I don't know.
Doesn't hurt you.
I think Call of the Bandit Lord is sick in this deck. Just
having haste on Borborygmos is sick.
Borby and just drawing 3 cards off the rip.
Emergent Zone, do it with Flash. Field of the Dead, already talked about that. Getting creatures, definitely playing like 20 different land or 30 different lands in this deck, so that can go off. Game Trail, untapped red-green mana. Grove of the Burn Willows, untapped red-green mana. Hall of Bannerlord, we talked about. Carplution Forest, untapped red-green mana. Plaza of Heroes, that is a good card in almost every commander deck.
Yeah, like Up and Rising, it was expensive for a while, and it's just starting to fall. So if you guys haven't gotten your hands on one, it's about time. We're starting to hit the floor.
It's a hot card. Reliquary Tower, you have no maximum hand size. I mean, if
seems good.
I want to hold onto those lands. I don't want to discard them without dealing damage. Rockfall Vale, untapped red-green mana. Rootbound Crag, untapped red-green mana. Spire Garden, untapped red-green mana. Stomping Ground, hey, untapped red and green mana. Can you believe it, guys?
We'd love to see it.
At these prices, Strip Mine, good card. If you can recur it with Ren and 6, you are in business. You're doing some incidental Ponza work to clear the board to allow you to get time for it.
I mean, that was the whole legacy thing. People were just playing Ren and 6.
Yeah, Ren and 6 is a good card.
Yep.
Taiga, untapped red-green mana. At some prices, for real. Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. I'm going to have a lot of mountains. Like I'm saying, playing 2 Blood Moon effects. I have 10 basic mountains to begin with. Going to throw Vesuvius in there. We're really going to get popping. Wasteland for more Ponza schemes. And finally, Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Why not? I don't necessarily need every land to be a forest, but if every land's a forest, hey.
It's pretty dang good.
It's great. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty dang good.
Guys, are you impressed that I just ran through 47 lands?
That was pretty hot, dude.
4 minutes.
That was actually very hot.
And
that's kind of what I do in real life when this deck goes off.
thing is, I can tell how much thought you've put into this deck because even as we get to the bottom of the list of lands, There is a sideboard that
I'm
has
looking at the
49
sideboard.
cards
I'm looking at
in
the
it.
sideboard right now.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, that's such a good card.
He's got 49 cards in his sideboard. He's really been stewing over this deck for at least a minute.
Mm-hmm. The Keswick Wolf run is awesome. Just like, you know, if Borby sticks and you have 8 mana. Great. Well, next turn he's massive.
Now he's a 15 damage trampler.
Yeah. And a few more of those like wastelandy type effects
I mean,
too. is
that
super good.
Kessig Wolf run might end up back in there if I pick up the Secret Lair Kessig Wolf run.
It's nice.
It's pretty sick. Might have to
sick.
switch over to the Crimson Vow lands or Midnight Hunt lands to match it, but you know that's a future consideration.
One thing I don't see, which I do want to like bring up, is Dryad of the Elysian Grove is not in your main board.
He's like a $25, $30 card, or they are a $25 or $30 card, and I already have
A few
4
of those
better
bags.
effects, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oracle of Moldiah, Courser of Krulfix. I think that's my preferred version rather than having every land type.
Sure. Yeah, you'd rather, because your deck is mostly full of lands, you'd rather be able to play it. It's almost like drawing an additional card.
Yep.
At that point, yeah. That's the way I've always seen it, at least, is that with like Augur of Autumn, Courser of Krulfix, is that playing a land off the top is just as good as drawing a card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
True.
yeah, man, this is
Very fun list.
Yeah.
We're going to have this link down below so you can check it out because you should definitely take a look. This is super fun.
For sure. He's a fringy commander. I have seen versions of this deck. This just is the I tried to refine it to make it like an 8 power level deck or something, where you're gonna sit down and just, try to stick it out,
And from like the days that you played in Gatecrash and you saw this card for the first time, like the game has come so far since that point that there are so many new cards to like plug into this thing.
Playing the long game, baby. Took me 10 years, but I can finally throw rocks with Borby Ponza. I can do it.
Yeah, we might see some more crazy shit with March of the Machines returning to Zendikar for a blink of an eye.
Ooh,
and we might see some more landfall mechanics since that is now what it is. They're calling it a deciduous mechanic, or they're like saying it can appear in more sets than just Zendikar.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think there's a version of this deck that would really exploit landfall triggers. That's just not this build.
Right.
I mean, if anyone listening or watching this podcast wants to, build a version that pursues the landfall line, I think that's definitely viable. Just for me, I wasn't like, I guess I could make 1 million Scoot Swarm copies or something like that.
Yeah.
Just not really what I wanted to. I like the idea of just chucking rocks at people's heads.
They belong in the
Yeah,
graveyard.
it's
not
just
in
like
the
kind
battlefield.
of the flavor,
Right.
Lands belong in the graveyard in this deck.
That's right.
It's not a landfall.
A respectable land goes to the graveyard.
Correct.
All right.
I think this is an awesome deck, dude.
It
Thank you
is.
for pitching it for Scherzies. Put Chandra's Incinerator in there. I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that idea. That's actually out of everything, and Rites of Spring, out of everything that you guys have pitched, those have the most promise.
More than anything, I just want to see that card played literally one time. I think it would be great.
I think I messed around with it in Standard when it came out.
I can see it.
But it was in like mono red, and it was supposed to be the top end.
Yeah.
Or like, honestly, drop it turn 3 or whatever.
In a 1 mana
Yeah.
6/6 trample is not nothing.
Right. It
You can get there.
came out right at the same time as Cavalcade of Calamity. So like whenever a creature attacks, it deals 1 damage. It's non-combat, and so like every creature that's attacking reduces the cost by 1, and then you get that crazy snowballing effect.
Just mono red needs a higher quality and higher density
Yeah.
of gas.
I mean, you're seeing it
and
right
so it just
now.
didn't work out.
Yeah, you're seeing
Yeah.
it in constructed formats right now that mono red just not really getting there compared to what the other decks are doing. It just doesn't have enough in the arsenal.
yeah, mono black is crazy.
Mono black has plenty in the arsenal. and
Mono
it just
black always has a
continues
deck.
to get more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
Every
more.
format.
All right,
forever.
before we dive into another subject, we got
Dive
to
and
get
draft
out of
okay.
here. Thank you guys for listening. And if you have a Borborygmos deck list that you want to share with us that we can look over and we can interact and figure it out, whatever, put it down below in the comments. We will see you guys next time on the MoxStars podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Deuces.
Bye.